What's up, everyone? Today in today's lesson, what we're going to go over is a couple of different things. So, how to add products to your store and how to work on customizing your theme a little bit. So, jump in, click Add Product on your admin screen right in the center there. And, ahead of time, you should already, know what it is you're going to be selling or what it is your client is selling. So, in this example, let's say your client already has a store set up and they're a hat store. They sell, like kind of like lids. It's all just hats and hat related apparel. So we're going to go ahead and add a hat for this customer, and we're going to put Thug Life hat. And we put in the description here, and then media, we click add file. And from there, we're going to go ahead and let's go to my desktop. Perfect. Now you see, let's see, we'll put a description in here. This hat is 100% Thug Life, and we'll guarantee the thuggest of experiences. So as an example, I've got this in here. I've got, the title, and, depending on what you sell, a good thing to do in your titles is to put, the quantity, the size, the color. You want to put a detail that describes it. So, in this example, because we could put multiple colors in here and multiple sides, we could simply just put Thug Life. We might even want to put flat billed hat, right? So make sure that the description makes sense. You don't want to have something really basic like hat, and then people are like, that's great, but I don't want a hat. I want a Thug Life hat, and I want one that's flat billed. So you want to make sure that your descriptions are your titles accurately portray what the product is for the customer. And then the description needs to be it needs to typically be like, obviously this is a little silly, but you want to have a description that first of all is appealing, right? It's talking to the kind of customer that buys these kinds of products, but it's also descriptive. So in this example, if we only wanted to sell one size of this hat, we could put at the bottom, only available in XL, and kind of leave it at that, right? So that could be a really simple way to just set this up and put it together. Now, one thing you want to be sure of is make sure that when you're adding products, whether this is going to be for your own site or for a customer's site, you want to make sure that the pricing is in line, that you're charging enough that the customer is going to be making money. Now, a good way to go about doing this is to set it that it's twice what you're paying. So as an example, let's say the customer pays, we'll say $3.99 for this hat. You want to set this up for, I think $7.99 is, yep, for $7.99. And then this compare at price, this will show up on the site that the customer can see. It says, $9.99, we'll put that as an example. And it'll show it crossed out. So the customer sees, wow, this is normally $9.99, but today it's only $7.99. It's just more of an incentive for them to be interested in taking action now and not saying, I'd rather have a Thug Life hat later on. Now, when it comes to this next part, adding inventory, this is really going to be dependent on how your customer is selling their product. Now, if the customer is drop shipping, they have a third party, that's doing all of the shipping and everything. All that they need to do is set this up to go to them when the customer orders it. This isn't going to be as important, and you're going to be using that distributor's SKUs and barcodes. If you're going to be working with customers who have their own location that they're shipping from, they have their own warehouse, then you would be using the stuff in the warehouse, and you want to make sure these are always 100% accurate, because typically the systems that you're going to be putting in place that we're going to go over in the next lessons about connecting apps and stuff like that, those aren't going to be smart enough to guess based off of the description. It's always going to be based off of the SKU. So if the SKU doesn't match what's going on in the warehouse, you're going to run into the problem that on a daily basis, there's things that are eating up hours of customer service time. And it's a real headache, first of all, but also it's really expensive. Every time something gets messed up, you have somebody in the warehouse who's not working and somebody in customer support who isn't doing something else because of this. So, you know, one thing I always recommend is, it depends on how you have this set up. I always recommend keeping this on, not clicking the box that says continue selling when out of stock. Because if there's any kind of slowdown, let's say something unexpected happens and now you don't have any hats for the next 21 days, that could be a really long time, especially for a new brand that might not have that like trust and authority built to be selling products to people who then aren't getting those. Now, if you're already a larger brand, you're already working with a larger brand, it's not as big of a deal. You can have this set up that way. It's just smart to know ahead of time, okay, do we have a contingency in place? Do we have an email sequence that we can send out if we run into a situation where we oversold, ran out of stock, and now we can't deliver for 20 to 30 days or longer? And then quantity. This is super important. This has got to be matched up exactly with your warehouse. What'll happen is, and this is, kind of a good rule of thumb too, is if you can connect this, if the apps that I'm going to go over with you guys in later lessons are apps that you can use with the warehouse you're working with, you can have it connected to directly what they have on hand. That's always a great situation. Good rule of thumb though is always have this quantity be 10% less than whatever the actual inventory is. Then you don't ever have to worry about overselling it. Shipping, this is a physical product, right? We're going to be selling something physical. You can add the weight in here. Let's say it's what's a good number for? We'll just say it's 1 pound, just for sake of simplicity. Country of origin, that's going to be coming from here, the United States. Now, there isn't any, the only time you're going to need a harmonized system code is if you're selling to, as an example, let's say you're shipping ground from the US to Canada. You're going to need to know what those codes are, and you can look these all up. Like, you can literally go and Google up what the harmonized system codes are and then add those in there. That'll just keep you from having a lot of headaches with customs. And then variants. This is where you would add in any kinds of variant, right? So let's say we were going to sell this in XL and large. We'd say size, and then we would put, large, right? Super simple and easy. Capitalize that. And then we can add another option. Let's say we'll put color, we'll put pink on here too. So now we have two different variations, and we have one variation, right? We have a large in pink and we have an XL in black. And then we would do the same here, right? Add the quantity and add the unique SKU for that one. Now, when it comes to a warehouse, they're never going to have the pink and the black in the same SKU. There'll be two separate SKUs to make sure that a customer who wears pink doesn't get the black hat instead. And then at the bottom of this, you would just go in and click save. And now you've got in your store the option for people to buy either a large pink Thug Life flat billed hat or an XL black Thug Life flat billed hat. Now, once you've done this, you always want to make sure that you're checking on the product availability. You want to click manage, and see, right now, all I have available is online store, because that's all that I have that people can use. You can connect this to your Facebook shop, where you can then have it available there. You can connect it to the buy button, which basically just allows people to buy this outside of the store itself, the way it's set up right now. There's a couple of different ways you can set this up. So I think Etsy actually allows you to connect as well. So right now it's available on 1 out of 1 channels. And then organization, this part right here is really just to make things really simple in the background. So when you're going into your products, you look at your inventory and everything, you can get an idea of where you're at with certain categories. So like as an example, we'll create a product type, we'll call it hats, and we'll add hats in there. So now it's connected to that. So anytime we want to look at where we're at for product sales by category, we can literally go and say, okay, how many black Thug Life hats, how many pink, how many whatever, and then collections. So this is another way that you can organize things on your store. This is more for your customers. So right here, you would put in, just as an example, we'll use hats for the customers as well. I think we actually have to go in, my bad, you guys, we have to go in the background and create this collection when we're editing our theme. Now, tags, you can use this just as a quick way of searching things. Typically, the most useful way to use your tags, though, are going to be for handling customer orders with questions or problems. And we're going to get into that in the next video.